Welcome to SRP Training Video. Today we are going to talk about Chain of Custody Policy and Standard version 2.6. This video will explain the changes made on this policy and standard, which is intended as a calibration tool for participating operators, retailers, authorized trainers, and auditors. This version of COC Policy and Standard is issued on June 2026. Basically, it covers updates on several topics, as you can see here in this list. We will divide these topics to 3 videos. First video will cover RiceTrace until private label arrangement. Second video will cover Audit Management Platform until scope change audit. Third video will cover mass balance. Now let's go to the first topic, which is RiceTrace. We are pleased to inform you that currently, RiceTrace has been used widely by participating operators for various functionalities, including registering initial volumes, recording rice processing, submitting and approving transaction, and even label and claim approval. In this version, we emphasize that RiceTrace is the sole official system for SRP traceability, transaction validation, and substantiation of SRP claims. Of course, during the audit, transaction documents such as sales contract, invoices, and bill of lading shall be verified by auditors. But these documents shall not substitute the RiceTrace records. Failure to use RiceTrace for activities involving SRP verified rice shall be raised as a nonconformity. Therefore, information in RiceTrace shall be recorded correctly, corresponding to related transaction documents. Please make sure that crucial data such as volume, buyer, site, COC model, and product form are provided correctly. For multi-ingredient product, participating operator shall record only the rice input used in the production. For participating operator with multi-site, all sites shall be registered in RiceTrace. Now we are going to explain about updates in Transaction Certificate, or TC. First, we want to emphasize that SRP verified volumes handled prior to the issuance of a verification statement shall not be eligible for TC issuance unless and until the verification statement is granted. And then a valid TC is mandatory for the transfer of SRP claims between supply chain actors. Although the transaction documents are completed with information of SRP claims and COC model, but without TC, it will not be deemed as a conformity. In RiceTrace, the transaction is completed once the buyer acknowledges it, before the claim transfer is finalized. When a seller submits a TC but then withdraws it, the withdrawn TC will remain in RiceTrace record to preserve the audit trail. The withdrawal will invalidate the claim, but does not result in deletion of the record. For multi-ingredient transaction, the TC covers only the rice component of the product. It does not imply verification or endorsement of non-rice ingredients. The TC submission and issuance shall comply with the timelines, so a TC cannot be issued more than 6 months after the date of the earliest shipment in that TC. And a TC can cover transactions occurring within a consecutive 30 days. Therefore, a TC shall not be used to retroactively legitimize SRP claims for transactions that fall outside the permitted issuance period. TC information has to be filled accurately and completely, as this will be evaluated during the audit. And as said before, other commercial documents alone shall not be considered sufficient evidence to substantiate SRP claims without TC. We have an exemption for recording a large number of transactions. If a PO has at least 100 transactions in a quarter, instead of recording each transaction, the PO may consolidate multiple transactions into a single transaction record, with the condition, as you can see in the yellow box, so it is only for sales of final product to retailer, shall be recorded quarterly, and instead of uploading the transaction document such as invoice or bill of lading, PO can upload the list of transaction detail in a spreadsheet file. PO can also create group of its buyer based on destination country. For example, a PO has buyer of 10 retailers in Italy, 10 retailers in Germany, and 5 retailers in Netherlands. This PO can create one group of buyer from each country, so in total, 3 groups of buyer registered in RiceTrace. Later, several transactions to one group can be consolidated into one TC. As one transaction can cover several shipments, multiple material input can be consolidated into one transaction record through separate shipment. For example, a PO sell jasmine rice to retailer A in Italy and sell basmati rice to retailer B, also in Italy. Therefore, this PO can record one transaction with 2 shipments. Each shipment contains different rice to one group of buyer, which is group of retailer in Italy. When applying this exemption, the PO shall inform its buyers, especially to buyers who have access to RiceTrace, because with this exemption, the volume of rice sold and shipped by the PO will not appear in the buyer's inventory in RiceTrace. Next is about exception. So SRP may grant an exception, either for PO or CAB, after receiving justification and consulting with stakeholders if needed. This exception shall not weaken the regulatory compliance, traceability requirements, or the integrity and substantiation of SRP claims. All exception made by SRP will be consolidated in a list and made accessible to all SRP-approved assurance provider and client to maintain the transparency. One of the exception we have made is about exemption on large number of transaction that we have just explained in previous slide about transaction certificate. Now we are going to talk about initial volume. In this version, we restrict the use of initial volume only for 2 purposes. First is to register harvested rice volume from SRP verified producer. Second is to register by product. This initial volume cannot be used to transfer SRP claims between supply chain actors. Next is about volume integrity and oversight. We have a new term of claim holder. It is an entity that makes, communicates, or benefits from SRP claim. It can be a brand, retailer, private label owner, and other actor placing SRP claim on product, packaging, or marketing material. To safeguard the integrity of SRP claims, SRP may request additional confirmation or supporting information from claim holders to verify that cumulative SRP claims supported by transaction certificates and verified volumes recorded in RiceTrace do not exceed such verified volumes. This request may be conducted annually, typically in the first quarter of the following calendar year, and may include confirmation of cumulative purchased or claimed volumes. If the claim holder fails to provide the required information, SRP may suspend or invalidate the associated claim. However, although the claim holder is able to provide the required information, it does not replace any audit conducted by CAB to this claim holder. Next, we are going to talk about private label arrangement. This is a commercial arrangement in which an SRP claim is made under a brand or label owned by an entity other than the producer or participating operator and governed by a private label agreement. The chain of custody standard still applies to this arrangement, although the brand or label owner are not verified unit. This brand or label owner shall sign private label agreement with an SRP participating operator. The SRP claim on the final product supplied to brand or label owner must remain within verified volumes in RiceTrace. We know that brand or label owner does not have access to RiceTrace. Therefore, it is the volume in participating operator's RiceTrace that need to be verified. And there is no TC from PO to brand or label owner. This claim is also subject to volume integrity requirement, as explained in previous slide. We have an example here. So Good Rice is the PO, supplying SRP rice to Green Sourcing as the brand owner. Green Sourcing must sign private label agreement with Good Rice. Because Green Sourcing does not have access to RiceTrace, so Good Rice must submit the label and claim approval. That will be used in SuperSweet Rice brand. As part of claim volume oversight, SRP may request information to Green Sourcing Company to verify that all SRP rice sold with SRP claim is within verified volume. Both Green Sourcing and Good Rice shall comply SRP brand manual and claim guidelines. This is the end of the first video about COC version 2.6. We will continue with other topics in the second video. If you have any question, please do not hesitate to contact us through assurance@srpglobal.org. Thank you for watching.